Buddhist science is a study on Buddhism based on facts and science.
The Buddhist Journey to the West, by Venerable Rungruan Papartsaro, Dr. Rungruan Lim Chu Patapa. The introduction of Buddhism to the Western world was in 19th century by the Pali Text Society. The Buddhism was known as the Theravada Suttas, which are considered as the original suttas of the early Buddhism. The original Buddha's words are about the truths of life within nature, and therefore the Buddhism is considered as a religion based on fact and science in the ancient time. William James, the founder of modern psychology, recommended that the Buddhism, is the psychology everyone will be studying. And without mention about the Buddhism, he did pave the foundation of Buddhist phenomenology into the modern psychology by adopting Buddhist concept of life into the modern psychology, and later in neuroscience, and cognitive science, such as the concept of life as a stream of consciousness, the concept of process and state description of mind, and mind processing. Arthur Schopenhauer, a famous modern philosopher, viewed the Buddhism as a phenomenology study based on fact and science as follows.
I accept that in my comparative philosophical studies, among all religions the Buddhism is the one that is based on phenomenal facts the most.
Carl Jung, who was a famous psychiatrist in the 20th century after studied on the teachings of many religions in the world, and he finally suggested as follows.
As a student of comparative religion, I believe that Buddhism is the most perfect one the world has ever seen. The philosophy of the Buddhism, the theory of evolution and the law of karma were far superior to any other creed.
It is not until recently in the late 20th century, with advances in neuroscience, many significant discoveries, that some specific abstract states of mind are identified with located functional neuron networks, then emerging a new neuroscience. Most of the recent Nobel Prizes are awarded in the field of neuroscience. And it is a world collaboration researching efforts in the Human Connectome Project, trying to the secret of central nervous system, of which as a result the structural connectome of brain pathway is like the Buddhism description of the process of consciousness, and the functional connectome of neurotransmitter is like mental factor in Buddhism. It takes more than a century to connect all the dots of scientific discoveries together, beginning from psychology, neuroscience, and cognitive science, to realize the ancient mind science of the Buddha enlightenment. The enlightenment of the Buddha is considered as the greatest discovery of the truths of life within nature in the world, not a supernatural event. The origin of the teaching of Buddha is a unique and an interesting story, because during the Buddha period of more than 2,600 years ago, at that time while most of the religions relied on the basis of having faiths in God and dogma with belief of supernatural powers, and people had to worship and paid respect to God in favor for well-being, instead the Buddha suggested that we should study and search for the truths of life within nature. The Buddhism was the only religion in the world that was not concerned about God. The Buddha challenged the traditional wisdom by introducing a learning approach in searching for the truths of life within nature. We can notice that the Buddha was the first one who shifted traditional norm of having faith to study the truths of life and nature instead, and this is the reason why the Buddhism may be considered as a religion, and as a way of life, and as a philosophy, and astounding it as a science of life and nature as well. The knowledge from Buddhism seems to be a promising ancient wisdom to help us understanding the nature. Many scientists admire the Buddha's vision on nature, initiating the convergence of Buddhism and science, called the Buddhist science, a breakthrough study to understand what really a life is. The neuroscience and later the cognitive science have made several breakthrough discoveries beginning in the 21st century, with an invention of fMRI providing a powerful capability to investigate and to identify the mind processing at the central nervous system. The recent Connectome research project opens a new landscape on how the mind is structured and functioned, resulting in various evidence that support the Buddha's teachings scientifically. It is time that we should ask why we are born in this world for. Is it simply to enjoy and suffer in our daily life, and then later we all die without knowing what the purpose of being born to the world. Is it time we should begin to heal all the wounds of humanity? After we enjoy abusing the nature for many decades, so now approaching to the edge of world crisis, do we want to resolve the problems yet? It is time to open our hearts for humanity to all mankind, not specifically for a particular nation, race, and any religion, definitely not even for a Buddhism as well.